Hello, fellow nerds, and welcome to Our Nerdiest Thing. Today we have a very special guest, author Hillary Raymer. Hillary is the author of fantasy romance books steeped in lush worlds filled with magic. She's always enjoyed books that swept her away to far-off places and fell in love with writing at a young age. She lives in Virginia with her husband and 2 daughters. When not writing, she can be found reading, singing Disney karaoke, or attempting any number of ridiculous Pinterest crafts.
Does this mean we can also ask Hillary to sing in the style? So for the last 20 minutes, we've been making Whitney sing phrases from the podcast in the style of, we just did Beyonce. It was really good.
I love it. Yes.
Disney karaoke.
No.
Thank you so much.
I'm 100% karaoke fan, so that's fine.
Do you do all karaoke or just Disney?
I do all karaoke, but Disney's my jam.
What's your go-to karaoke song? Like if you were gonna wow everyone, what song would it be?
All right, so I'm gonna age myself here. So it used to be how's it go? Hang on.
Oh, you can sing it too.
Killing Me Softly by the Fugees.
Oh, nice. Girl, that is a hard song.
Yeah.
But now it really just depends on what kind of mood I'm in, and maybe how many beverages.
See, I just stick with the angry chick rock because you can't really mess that up.
I mean, I would sometimes I'll belt out Don't Speak by No Doubt, or I'll go way left and do, that song Hallelujah. It just depends.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So at the end of the podcast, we'll be talking about your upcoming projects. We're just going to show up to one and take you out to karaoke.
Well, thank you so much for being live with us today, Hillary. We're excited to chat with you.
I'm glad to be here. I like doing podcasts. I think not that I'm not a professional. I've only done
Neither are we.
Yeah, I was gonna say neither are we.
But it's always really fun. I always have a good time. So
in your bio, Hillary, you said that you've been writing since you were young, and a lot of authors have been writing since they were kids, and I love that. So if starting then, what did your journey till now, your journey of authorship, what does it look like?
So I did start young. I was the kid that I loved taking the creative writing classes and writing the short stories, and looking back, some of them were probably made my teachers a little bit concerned, not in terms of romance, because I wasn't anywhere near that yet, but it was more so just the whole, it was a dark and stormy night, that kind of vibe. Or I'd write ones that were based off of, again, aging myself, that show Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Nice.
Yeah.
That show scared the shit out of me.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, do you mind cuss words, Hillary?
Oh no.
Okay.
No, yeah.
Fuck yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I did that a lot in high school. I actually wrote, need that real quick. In high school, I actually wrote, when we were studying Shakespeare, I would write my classmates sonnets for them.
Oh gosh, I love that.
And it was to the point one time where one of my classmates, Dan, he was like, I want to sit next to Hillary too. But so that was kind of the start. And then when I decided I wanted to write a book, I was reading Nora Roberts because I love her. And I remember thinking to myself, I can do this. I can write a book. I have stories all the time. Or, I would be arguing with one of her characters, why are you doing this? This, better. You shouldn't be doing this, that kind of stuff. But so it was, I had just had my first child. So I had my daughter, and my husband deployed 9 days after she was born.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to write a book to give me something to do and keep my mind off things. So I actually started, I started with Regency romance, and that is intense and hardcore, and I was way over my head, and those readers are ruthless. You get one thing wrong, and I was like, you know what, maybe this just isn't for me. So I wrote a couple contemporary romances. I actually have 2 that are published. I published 2 of them last year.
awesome.
And then
what are they titled, Hillary?
one is called Until Forever, and the other is Someday Maybe.
Okay, awesome.
And they were originally going to be a series, but this is part of that whole question that you were asking. So fantasy has always been like my first love, and I tried so hard to get traditionally published. I mean, the rejection letters I have, you're talking like probably well over 100. And it wasn't.
Do you know who Elise Kova is?
Yes. Well, I don't know her personally, but I've heard of
She
her. Yeah.
posted this week in her like Facebook private group that when she was trying to get Air Awakens published, she got 177 rejections.
Wow.
Mhm.
And then she self-published and it like changed her life. So anyway, like it's
Yeah,
crazy
no,
to hear this all the time, like 100 rejections.
It's a valid it's valid. Like it's the number of rejections I received, and like with Crown of Roses, it wasn't, so that book took me probably like 10 years, right? Over the course of like writing, rewriting, putting it aside, editing it, you know, doing all the things. And when I finally submitted it, I actually had 3 agents request the full thing, which is
Wow.
really, really hard to do. They call it like the slush pile, you know, when you just go into their inbox with like hundreds of other authors hoping to get, you know, like picked. And eventually, you know, it would come down to like, they requested the full manuscript and it would be like, you know, this is really great, but, and there was that one little thing. So after that, I stopped writing fantasy because I figured I'm just not good enough. So then I went back to contemporary romance, which is when I published Until Forever and Someday Maybe, because I was like, I knew how to do it. I knew the beats. I could, you know, it's fine. And then one day I was like, I still had the file for Crown of Roses in my phone. It wasn't called, I think I had it called Crown of Tears, or something horrible like that. I had the file on my phone and I was like, you know what, let me just look and see if it's really as bad as I think it is. And I started reading it. And I had to like put my phone down and walk away because I got so upset with myself because it was good. It was good.
Oh, I love that.
And that was probably, and it was like 3 years later, 3 years after I stopped writing fantasy before I started again. And then I was like, you know what, I'm just going to dive right in. And I had already published the contemporaries by then. So I kind of had like a general idea of what I was doing. So I was like, I'm just gonna do it. And so I did.
Oh, that's awesome.
That is so awesome. I love to hear that.
I love
That is my journey.
a little bit of time away from something gives you a little bit more perspective.
Yeah, the
I do
clarity
that a
for
lot
sure.
too. Like I'll go back and look, I save everything and I have like papers I wrote in college and I'll stumble upon them and I'll read them. I'll be like, oh, I was a good writer once. Like
Yeah.
I was really smart then.
It's really eye-opening. It's really eye-opening.
It is. I love that you, I'm glad that you went back and you read that and you recognize that. That's awesome.
Thanks. Me too. Because
Well, and I love that confidence too of reading somebody that you love and feeling like I could do that,
Yeah.
because that's so the opposite of me.
Well, we've said a
I
million
could never
times,
do that. Yeah.
right? When we're doing these read-alongs on the podcast, I'm always like, you know, these authors write these very rich descriptions of these people, but you know, it's like they talk about it over 5 pages before you like realize like, oh, their hair is brown. Whereas I would be like, they were tall. Their hair was brown. It looked like poop, the color of poop. Like it just would not like, because I would love to write a book. I've had an idea, but like literally I don't have the temperament to sit down and do it. All of my projects are like one sitting projects that I do. So
it's a labor of love.
for sure.
Well, tell us a little bit about your series, The Fave Saga, and your upcoming release, Realm of Nightmares.
Okay, so the Fave Saga is going to be a 4-part series, and I'm working on book 3, which is Realm of Nightmares right now. Crown of Roses follows a warrior princess whose kingdom comes under attack by the Dark Fae, and she's forced to go to the Fae realm to find this soul of a goddess to like rid her kingdom of like, you know, the monstrous attack against it and stuff. And then there's like morally gray characters, and there's, you know, dark-haired villains, and
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like you're
said
saying
morally
gray.
gray.
and dark hair. I saw an author the other day. Maybe it was Scarlett St. Clair, but she goes, you know, good-looking guys can be blonde too.
so I've made it a point that my next series that I'm like, I haven't even started yet, but it's just like mixing around in my head. He will definitely probably be like blonde, dark hair, but it's it's got all it's like enemies to lovers and found family and secret identity and all these wonderful things. And Throne of Dreams, which just released on March 28th, is like the second part of that. Realm of Nightmares. This book has been like an intense struggle for me. So I've been pushing really hard to get it done. I have to get it to my editor by the end of May. And I wrote 7,000 words yesterday, and that's the most I've ever written in a single sitting ever. So that was kind of exciting, but it follows her journey and kind of like, coming into like herself and like without giving like too much away. And there's like, fated mates and stuff like that. And I have 2, maybe 3 spinoffs planned for this series, just because and it's funny because I saw a TikTok, and it was this male author, and I don't recall his name, but it was basically where he was like writing a book, and he's like, "Did you ever get to like the very end scene, and then all of a sudden like a secondary character comes in with like main character energy, and they're like, they have to have their own book," and then it's exactly what has happened. I was like, yes, I relate to this on every level. So I'll probably do a couple spinoffs, and then the new series I'm working on, they're gonna like kind of like cross over.
Cool.
So it'll be like a universe cross kind of thing.
That's
So
awesome. Very cool. Very cool. So would you say then that your favorite types of stories to write are the fantasy stories, or do you prefer the contemporary romance to write?
So to write, I prefer the fantasy. A lot of it's because it's one of those things where if something needs to happen, I can be like, oh, well, magic. I just I make the rules. But then I have to be held accountable for those rules.
You know what though? You said that the legacy romance or Regency romance, those are like such hardcore people. And I would say that fantasy people are hardcore, but not in like the criticism. It's more of like, because you can use magic, right? And they can be like, okay, that's believable. Like fantasy people almost on the opposite end of the spectrum, like get so hardcore fandom-ish. Like, you know what I mean? Like I feel like somewhat bad for some authors, because I feel like they would literally get mobbed if they walk down like, you know what I mean? And there's some like movie actors that wouldn't happen to, but the fandoms are intense and so much fun. I mean, we get into these author pages and it's just like you could spend hours in there.
I have a Discord.
Oh, you do? Okay, we'll have to find it.
These ladies are off the chain.
Yeah.
It is total chaos all the time, and they're so wonderful, and they will, they would bring out the pitchforks for me. They help me, I had so I was designing a sticker, and my main character, my female main character, she is a reader. And so I was like, hey guys, I'm like, I need to I need to think of like titles for books that Maeve would have in her library, but they couldn't be just any books. They had to be books of like a more sexual nature. And so the ones I had thought of were like Why Wingspan Matters. And and there's this particular scene in Crown of Roses. So another book was The Autumn Keeley, A History of Fae Orgies. And it's like this whole
I love it. Okay, you also had me at orgies.
They fired off with like Dixon Dungeons and Wings, the 8th erogenous zone, and like just pop. Like they did not let me down on.
Okay, I really hope you're gonna invite us to this feed, because I think I kind of need to be in it.
I absolutely can. I will.
Awesome.
I think it's just like Hillary Raymer's court, but I have a link in my link tree, which should be in
I'll go find it.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of fandoms, are you a part of any fandoms yourself, or do you like any nerdy things?
Yes. So I love Disney, but I'm a huge Disney princess fan. Like some of like back there, like there's Aurora up there, and there's like my bowl cookie jar, and so like Sleeping Beauty is my favorite. But I love Harry Potter. I'm a Ravenclaw, so I will proudly represent my house all the time. And then I also really love Star Wars.
Oh yeah, yep.
Me too.
We love Star Wars so much, and
Star
yeah,
Wars is my favorite.
Potter. I think we're probably around the same age, Hillary. So I was like a little bit out of the zone of like going to like Barnes and Noble midnight signing, like when Harry Potter came out.
Oh yeah, I was a
Now
little bit older when that happened.
Right. And so now in retrospect, I'm like, man, I should have went. That would have been awesome.
Oh, it
Because
would've been
now I'm like,
cool.
I don't really care how old I am. I'm
Yeah.
going and I'm fangirling and I'm going to dress up and like, but it was that phase of life where you don't have enough confidence to do that
Right.
yet.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I missed it just a little bit, but Mindy almost went to bat for me when we went to go watch a midnight release because I was pregnant. And this was before the seats were assigned, right, at the movie.
Right. Okay.
And there were no two seats together except for handicap accessible seats. And
Mhm.
people would go and like save like a whole row, right? Even
Yeah.
like one person.
And it was
sitting
like
there.
these teenagers.
Right. They were like these snotty teenagers. And I try to sit in the seat and it's in front of where these girls are. And they're like, we're saving that. And Mindy goes, well, she's pregnant. Are you not going to let her sit there? And I was like,
Well,
yeah.
I was like, wait, are you handicapped? Because she's pregnant.
I love it.
These Harry Potter releases. I think it was the next to the last movie, but
It
like
was.
Mindy was gonna like fight someone.
And having babies for the win. Sometimes being pregnant like really comes in handy.
But I mean, I was like huge pregnant too. I wasn't like 3 months. I was like 8 or something.
Yeah.
Mindy was gonna beat someone up.
So
I would have.
Hillary with Star Wars, have you seen the trailer for the new Ahsoka show that's coming out later this year?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
I
was
have.
really excited. I showed my kid, he just turned 9 and he's really into the Star Wars Rebel show. And he was
Yeah.
like, that's Sabine, that's
So
Ahsoka. He was
So
really
it's crazy because so like I've always loved Star Wars and my husband wasn't really into it until like he met me. And now he probably knows more about the fandom in the universe than I do. He's like patiently waiting for me to like watch the new episodes of The Mandalorian because I haven't yet because deadline.
It's so good.
But so we were watching the Boba Fett one,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I wasn't too impressed. I think I thought it was like a little bit boring. But then
Yes,
as soon
agreed.
as the Mandalorian walked in, I was like, okay, yes, I'm
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. I
This-
agree. Yeah.
This is an ongoing debate on this podcast. Pedro Pascal, hot or not?
hot, but only in Mandalorian attire.
You can't see his face.
You're like,
Basically.
talk.
I could get on board with that.
I know.
Yeah, I could too.
I did see an interview that he did where he said that his Mandalorian voice is like his bedroom voice. And I was like, that explains a lot.
It explains a lot. Yes.
Well, let's go into our nerdy and dirty speed round. So the
Okay.
point of this game is to answer with the first thing that pops in your head. Let's like just speed right through it. No thinking. Okay. That's
Okay.
hard for writers, we have found.
It is.
Okay. Number 1, favorite cocktail,
Vodka cranberry.
favorite fandom,
Ooh, it's really a tie between Harry Potter and Star Wars.
nice. Most binge-worthy TV,
The Big Bang Theory.
nice. What is your guilty pleasure?
Okay, so I'm a mood reader. No, binge reader. I'm a binge reader and I will read a book from start to finish and neglect all my parental responsibilities
Oh, we
until
do
that
that
book is
too.
done.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I just stayed up till 4:00 in the morning reading
Yeah,
the
that's-
book that I finished in one day.
And no regrets. I will like tell myself, I'm like, okay, just like literally one more chapter and then it just
Nope.
keeps going.
What's the last book you did that with? Can we ask?
The last book I did that with was Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't read the full Throne of Glass series yet. So
Oh, you're in for some heartache.
It's
girl.
so good.
It's really good. Yeah. And I have some others if you really love Throne of Glass that I can recommend that I have found just in the last couple months that remind me a lot of it, but aren't so much like it where you're like, okay, like they're nice and fun and different.
yeah, absolutely. I would love that.
Okay. So who is the book character you would get nerdy and dirty with?
That would be Cassian from.
Talk about some wingspan. I'll tell you what.
He is my favorite.
Okay, I'm gonna actually add a question to this then. So, Team Cassian or Team Castile from Blood and Ash?
I haven't read From Blood and Ash.
All right, you gotta.
You should. It's
Yeah,
so good.
It's really good.
I accidentally read it out of order. I read the light in the
Oh, The Light and the Flame.
Light and the Flame first. Yeah,
Oh
I
my
read
gosh,
those.
I bet you were so confused.
I have no idea what's going on. I love it. I have no idea what's going on, but I love it.
Right. Yeah. No, that's the
That is
second
a
book
good
in the
one.
prequel series. So, you'll once you start reading stuff, you'll be like, oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. So back on track. Team Edward or Team Jacob?
Team Edward.
Who's your book boyfriend or bestie?
Nesta. I'm diehard like Nessian fan.
Oh, we
Yes,
are
us
too.
too.
100%. If you listen to the first season of our podcast, it's like every episode was our soapbox about how great the character she is.
I love her.
Wonderful. Do you prefer smut or plot?
Plot.
Favorite childhood book?
Oh, that's tricky. Favorite childhood book would be probably I don't know. Oh God, I don't know.
We can pass.
Maybe Sweet Valley Twins. I don't know.
Oh, I love
Those were really good. Yeah. And a whole generation is going, what?
Oh, hey, yes, but I just got my daughter. They just came out with a Sweet Valley Twins graphic novel. And I
Really?
bought it
Did
from
they
her.
really?
They
All
did.
right.
And I bought
That
it from
sounds like
my
a
daughter.
bonus episode for us girls.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. What's your favorite cereal?
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Good
Physical
choice.
book or Kindle?
Physical book.
Do you like to read a book or listen to a book?
Read. I have never listened to an audiobook.
Really?
I don't.
Yeah.
I can't do it either.
Yeah. It's
Like I just can't. I've tried and I can't.
So
I'm always listening and always reading one.
I don't like being read to. If
Mhm.
someone's like, hey, let me read you this quick, article, I'm like, no, just let me read it myself.
So
I
I'll be
can't.
honest with you, Hillary, I
get the
can't do
words.
that either because I'm a very visual person. So when I'm listening to an audiobook, they have to do different voices where it's
Mhm.
almost like a play,
Right.
because if it's just one voice, I just tune it out after a while.
I think that's what I'm afraid would happen.
Yeah,
Like I won't be able to see it.
All right. So Supernatural or Stranger Things?
Supernatural.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
correct.
we have a life-size cardboard cutout of Jensen Ackles right behind the screen over here that we used to take to Supernatural cons with us every year.
I love it.
We love Supernatural. Do you prefer to be under a comfy blanket or poolside?
Under a comfy blanket, because poolside is just, there's too much you have to worry about.
True.
I think maybe I just don't care. I'm like, well, here's where I am. Fantasy or mystery?
Fantasy.
Doctor Who or Shadow and Bone?
Ooh. Doctor Who.
Doctor Who. Sam girl or Dean girl from Supernatural?
Sam.
Do you
100%.
prefer to cosplay or people watch?
If I thought I would be any good at cosplaying, I would say cosplaying. So I would probably go with people watch.
Would you prefer the Darkling or Mal from Shadow and Bone?
The Darkling.
Girl.
Wow.
So I read it
Oh.
first and told them to read it. And Whitney texted me one night and she goes, wait, I'm not supposed to be rooting for the Darkling? And I was like, I know, God.
I was like, whoops.
Okay, paranormal romance or urban fantasy?
Paranormal romance.
All right, so we're going a little old school. Agatha Christie or Nancy Drew?
Nancy Drew.
Do you prefer a beach read or more of an epic romance?
Ooh. What would be an epic romance? Like,
Oh gosh.
That's a great question.
I would say the Throne of Glass
I would
series is
too.
an
I
epic
would too.
romance.
Yeah.
okay, probably an epic romance. Probably.
Would you prefer to save Princess Peach or Princess Zelda?
Princess Zelda.
Super Nintendo or Nintendo Switch?
Super Nintendo.
Six of Crows or Ninth House?
Six of Crows.
And finally, Twilight books or the Twilight movies?
Twilight movies. Because
Really?
yes,
I love
I
movies
could
too.
not. I DNF'd the books. I couldn't do it.
Did you really? Okay.
Really?
So those were books I remember, like my daughter was like 1 and I was on the way to preschool and I was at a stoplight, like reading. This was like prior to when everyone would be on their phones all the time and I was getting honked at for like reading at the stoplight, but I still do that all the time. So yeah.
So I think for me, is like I got to the point it was the point when Bella was like losing her mind over the fact that Edward had broken up with her and she was doing those like dangerous things to try
Oh
to
yeah, that's real
Yeah.
dumb.
harm herself. And I was just like, I can't with you anymore.
Yeah,
Just
I
no.
will admit, I was like, it's just a dude.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
you'll be
yeah.
all right, honey. And she would have
That's
been.
great. So real quick, I want to jump back to your Faven saga. So there are 2 books out so far, right?
Yes, that's right.
And the first one is Crown of Roses.
Mhm.
And tell me again what the title of book 2 is.
Throne of Dreams.
Throne of Dreams, and those are both out as of April 2023.
Yes.
And
that's
then
correct.
book 3 is The Realm of Nightmares, right?
Yes. And
I
that one
just wanna
comes
make
out
sure
in
I get that.
September.
In September.
Ooh,
Okay.
okay.
Wow, that's
Excellent.
close. All right.
So obviously you're working on book 3 to get that ready for September. Are there any other projects or events or festivals that you've got coming up in 2023?
Yeah. So I'm working on book 3, and then once I finish it, I'm going to take like a little bit of a break and work on this new series that I kind of mentioned earlier. That's going to be like the crossover. And I'm going to be at Books, Gowns and Crowns in Tampa
Cool.
in May. And I live in Virginia, and there's a local like indie book fest, and that's like Fredericksburg Indie Book Fest, and that's in June. So I'll be there.
I've heard of that. Is that one the one that's outside?
Yeah, it's outside.
Okay, because I actually contacted them to see if they needed like moderators, and they're like, "Yeah, we don't do that." They're like, "We're outside." But that's not super far from us.
No, it's
That might be a
not.
fun one.
And then I will be in where else am I going this year? I'm going to Cookeville, Tennessee in August to sign it. My friend, she runs a bookshop there. It's called Plenty on Spring, which is an
Cool.
adorable name.
It
And
is.
then I will be at Lust in the Low Country in Charleston in October.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
So what can we do, Hillary, to support your work?
Make TikToks. I'm just kidding.
Make your TikToks. We can't even make our own
I
TikToks.
know.
I'm like, we do Instagram reels. We do like the 40-year-old version of TikToks. We make Instagram.
TikTok is like the bane of my existence,
Right.
but
I
it
hear
sells books, and there's no denying that it sells books. So I have to have like a presence there. No, but anything, I mean, just commenting on like my posts or talking about my books or posting about my books is helpful. They're everywhere online. And if you go into like a local bookstore, you can request it because I published them through Ingram Spark. So it's not like I'm limited to
great.
Amazon or anything like that.
Okay.
And I have signed copies on my website.
Okay.
Along
Awesome.
with like
And
super
you sent one of
merch.
our listeners one. So thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, she was really, really excited. So I can't wait to hear what she thinks.
Yeah, I just shipped that out like last week, I think. So shouldn't be too much longer.
So Hillary, where can we find and follow you online besides TikTok?
Besides TikTok, I'm on Instagram, and that's just at Hillary Raymer. I have a Facebook group. It's called, I think it's just called like Hillary Raymer's Court. It's there, but my Discord is way more active.
Okay.
And that's Hillary Raymer's Fake Court. But again, I've got the my link, which is in, like my Instagram bio or wherever.
Right.
Yeah.
The Discord link is in there. So
All right. I have like my phone ready as soon as we're
I know.
done.
Yeah. And so at the end of every episode, we always share what our nerdiest thing of the week was, a book, a movie, an activity, whatever, something that we nerded out about. So we would love to hear what your nerdiest thing of the week is.
I definitely geeked out over the Ahsoka trailer. Like that was like that was hard.
Is that going to be your nerdiest thing of the week this week?
Yeah,
That's
I'm
what's
really
her
excited.
name, right? What is the
It
actress's
is. What's
name?
her name?
Yeah.
Rosario Dawson.
So like, I think she is so beautiful,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
she's
she's
an
great.
amazing actress. And I actually not like this is a big deal, but I followed this woman stunt person online forever, and she's actually the stunt person for
Oh,
her.
cool.
And so like
That's
she'll post
really
like,
cool.
she'll post what she did and then show it like on screen, like
That's
from the
cool. Oh,
Mandalorian.
that's
And I'm
really
like,
cool.
you're like the coolest person ever. Yeah,
That's
like she
really,
doesn't know
really
me, I
cool.
just know her.
Yeah, I nerded out about that too this week, Hillary. So
That was
only
super
the cool people did.
yeah, no, that was very, very exciting. At least, I mean, for me, And then, oh wait, didn't I could be imagining it. Didn't they say that like they're going to do like a new Star Wars movie and that like the girl who plays Rey is coming back? Is that?
Yeah.
Daisy Ridley, right?
Daisy Ridley.
Yeah. Which, I mean, she's not like my favorite character ever, but all of the movies she has done have been really good.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm excited that there's another movie coming out.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Do we know anything about this movie yet? Or
Mm,
no,
no.
super
Just
vague?
that it
Okay.
exists. It's
Yeah.
going to exist.
Yeah.
Right.
The only movie I haven't really been able to get behind in the last 10 years was, and it wasn't because I didn't like it, it just like was fine, but it was the Han Solo movie.
Yeah.
It was fine.
It was
And but I still really enjoyed it. But I felt like that the Last Jedi kind of got some slack, and I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
But people
I
did
liked
not
it
like
too.
it.
I have loved every Star Wars movie. I feel like it's just a matter. Because I think there's like parts of fandoms that can be kind of toxic, maybe.
Yes.
Oh, of
And
course.
some
Yeah.
people take things way too seriously or out of context or
Mhm.
whatever the case may be. And you know, at the end of the day, like the producers and the directors, I mean, they're only human. Like, you know,
Right.
Right.
they can only do so much. But my personal favorite Star Wars is Rogue One.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
I loved
That's a
Rogue
great
One.
one.
Good.
Mhm.
I
It is.
all right. I don't know. Do we have time to talk? Can I like tell you I have a Rogue
Of
One story?
course.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm the type of person where if I ask you to tell me how something ends, like I want to know. Like I need to know. I need to be emotionally prepared, whether it's a book or a movie or a
So
show.
let me interrupt you. So you do like a spoiled, and like you don't mind it to be, because
I don't mind.
Like my sister-in-law reads the last page of a book when she gets it, and I'm like, you are a monster.
So I won't do that, but like something being spoiled for me isn't the end of the world. It's just sometimes I think maybe I just get too emotionally invested in things
Sure.
and I will like have a mini freak out moment. So Rogue One, my husband had already seen it and I was finally able to like sit down and watch it with him. And it's, you know, getting close to the end of the movie. And I look over at him and I said, babe, is everyone going to die? What? No, that doesn't happen in this movie. No, it's fine.
Oh,
And
That's
then like
upsetting.
30 minutes later, everyone died. And I felt like I had my entire soul ripped from my chest and I was crying and I was like, I couldn't, it was horrible. I was so devastated. And I know like it had to happen obviously because
Right.
of all the things in
The
the
story, right.
the story. But I think part of me didn't realize that was the timeline that I was watching. Like it just hadn't clicked for me.
Right.
So I was not prepared and it wrecked me. It was horrible.
You're like, I didn't trust my husband for 5 years.
Yeah, basically.
So funny enough, Hillary, something very similar just happened with my daughter. I haven't even told you all this yet. My daughter's a teenager and we've been watching Supernatural together. And we get to the episode in season 7 where Dick Roman shoots Bobby, right? And my daughter looks at me and goes, is Bobby going to die? And the same thing, no, because I'm not going to spoil it.
Mhm.
And he dies. And she goes, what did you do to me? I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. She was like bawling. She's like, I love him so much. I was like, honey, we all do.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
that's the good thing about Supernatural is nobody ever really
Well,
dies on
that's
that
what I
show.
thought. I was like, honey, no
Right.
one's dead on Supernatural. Don't worry about it. So, and we're already back to where he's a ghost. So
That's
she's
hilarious.
but yeah, I think I might have killed the trust in my teenager. For
I feel her pain on many levels.
But don't ever ask me because I am gonna lie to you. You can ask.
Yeah, I'll spoil stuff for you. No problem.
Perfect. That's all I need to know. I just need someone I can trust.
Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast and coming and chatting with us. It's been really awesome to talk
Delightful.
to you.
It was really
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.